In the past decade alone, January 24th, 2004, Timothy Stansberry, Brooklyn, New York, unarmed. November 25th, 2006, Sean Bell, Queens, New York, unarmed. January 1, 2009, Oscar Grant, Oakland, California, unarmed. January 29th, 2010, Aaron Campbell, Portland, Oregon, unarmed. July 18th, 2011, Alonzo Ashley, Denver, Colorado, unarmed. March 7th, 2012, Wendell Allen, New Orleans, Louisiana, unarmed. September 14th, 2013, Jonathan Farrell, Charlotte, North Carolina, unarmed. July 17th, 2014, Eric Garner, Staten Island, New York, unarmed. August 9th, 2014, Michael Brown, Ferguson, Missouri, unarmed. In the past decade alone, these men and hundreds of others have lost their lives to police. Local police report to the FBI killing at least 400 people a year. From 2006 to 2012, a white police officer killed a black person at least twice a week in this country. Which brings us back to Ferguson, Missouri, where, according to a report in the Daily Beast, in 2009, police officers charged a man for property damage because he bled on their uniforms while they arrested him and allegedly beat him bloody. Ferguson, Missouri, where it took 6 days to release the name of an officer who shot an unarmed teenager to death. Ferguson is just outside St. Louis, Missouri, the place where, as historian Blair Kelly reminded us this week in The Root, Dred Scott sued for his freedom on the grounds that he and his wife had for many years lived in a free state. His case eventually went to the Supreme Court, and in 1857, Chief Justice Roger Taney declared that Scott had no right to sue because, as a black man, he was never intended to be an American. Speaking on the clause in the Declaration of Independence that all men are created equal, Taney wrote, quote, "It is too clear for dispute that the enslaved African race were not intended to be included and formed no part of the people who framed and adopted this declaration." And he went on to say that black men had no rights which the white man was bound to respect. No rights which the white man was bound to respect. No rights which the white man was bound to respect. No rights which the white man was bound to respect.
Good evening, Jim. The use of undercover informants is a common police technique used to bring charges against suspects not inclined to deal directly with cops. But often the undercover agent is a shady character facing his own charges. That makes him motivated to give police what they want, whether the suspect has done something wrong or not. Donald Andrews Jr. operates a so-called smoke shop on Mohawk Avenue in Scotia. It sells incense and other smoking paraphernalia, legal stuff, but material that might also be repurposed for other illicit activities. Scotia and Schenectady County Police became suspicious and targeted Andrews' shop, sending an undercover informant in twice in March. The second time, Andrews' attorney, Kevin Lebrand, does play-by-play that appears to show the informant planting, then photographing crack cocaine that led to Andrews' arrest.
Donald turns, he comes in, places the crack on the counter, crack which under federal sentencing guidelines would get him 4 years in jail. Under New York state law would get him 2 to 7 years in jail.
There are 7 cameras in plain view in Andrews' small store. Here's a second clear angle.
He walks in, places the crack cocaine on the counter.
Members of the Schenectady chapter of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference viewed the apparent framing of an African-American businessman and were outraged.
It was a setup, and I believe that he was racially profiled and targeted, and it would be easy for them to say that he was selling drugs because he was black.
Now, neither the Schenectady County Sheriff nor the Scotia Village Police Chief were available to be interviewed about the apparent planting of evidence. By phone, the sheriff acknowledged proper procedures were not followed, but denied his investigators purposely framed the suspect. The sheriff blamed the informant, who has taken flight. Andrews was arrested but released when he was able to get police to look at the multiple camera angles. He's taken the first step at filing a lawsuit and was not made available today by his attorney. Bill Lambton, News Channel 13.
It's this traffic stop from 3 weeks ago that's landed a former Trooper of the Year behind bars. The graphic video shows just what happened. Prosecutors say the trooper stopped a man at the Circle K on Broad River Road for a seatbelt violation. It's what happened next that now has the trooper charged with a felony.
Has your license, please? Get out of the car! Get out of the car! Get on the ground! Get on the ground!
Just hours ago, that same video was shown in bond court as a judge granted a $75,000 cash bond to the former trooper. The South Carolina Highway Patrol fired Trooper Sean Grubert last Friday and said for reasons only Grubert can articulate, he fired on the unarmed victim, 35-year-old LeVar Jones, who was struck in the hip.
Are you hit?
I think so. I can't feel my leg. I don't know what happened. I just grabbed my leg.
Brakes on 866. I need a 1052.
Why did you shoot me?
Well, you dove head first back into your car.
The police officer who shot the boy has been taken off the streets tonight with full pay, and the boy he shot is now out of surgery here but continues to cling to life. There is outrage and anguish tonight after police shot a 12-year-old boy over a BB gun.
They shot him! A little black boy!
Officers arrived here at the Cadell Rec Center this afternoon on a call of a man on the premises with a gun.
In the park behind us here.
Police say they told the boy to show his hands, but instead he lifted up his shirt, and police say he displayed this, a BB gun that looks just like a real gun.
The young man had the weapon in his waistband. He pulled the weapon out. One of our officers fired 2 shots, striking the young man.
The 12-year-old boy?
Yes.
Apparently the boy did not point the gun at officers. Did he threaten the officers?
No.
He didn't threaten officers at all with the gun.
There was no verbal or no confrontation.
The officer fired 2 shots, hitting the boy at least once in the stomach. Neighbors say the officer was too quick to shoot and are disgusted.
Always killing a black kid, right?
A 49-year-old man who his family says suffered from serious mental health issues. Paul, seen in the middle of your screen, police say, had just had a run-in with a convenience store clerk. He was in a standoff with police and holding some sort of knife. A female officer is heard shouting. If you listen carefully, Paul is then heard continuing to yell at police. Paul seems agitated, but not intimidated by a police dog. Heard on the tape, a witness describes what he sees.
In the karate stands, about to go ham on them.
Then, as Hall appears to take a few steps, everything comes to a head. Local media report 46 shots were fired. CNN counted the sounds of at least 30 shots on the videotape.
I didn't know senior black correspondent. I didn't realize we were talking about racial issues. I thought this was going to be the senior police misconduct correspondent, or...
John, you're so funny, acting like they're not related. Not funny, John.
Right.
This has got to stop already.
Yeah, but that's what I was going to say. But black people aren't the only ones who sometimes get mistreated by the police. I mean, we've all seen the videos of these white kids there in the protests there getting...
Oh, please, John, come on, that's pepper spray. They're just getting seasoned. I mean, besides, I don't even count them as white people. They're hippies. It's not the same.
All right. A fair point. But do you really think that the police aren't as quick to choke out a white person as a black person?
Well, let's compare. I mean, Eric Garner was unarmed, holding his hands up, and politely asking the cops to leave him alone. Oh, look, here's a white guy in Michigan last month. Look, there he is, threatening the cops with a rifle. And look, now he's waving his at them. Oh, they're gonna him up back. What? They're gonna sit and have a chat? You gotta be kidding me. I mean...
Well, all right.
He was asking for a chokehold.
At the least.
No, seriously, he was asking for a chokehold. And they still didn't give it to him. I mean, this guy could have shot his way out of Fallujah. The only thing Eric Garner was brandishing was his black.
And I think racism has moved to the place in America where if you don't see context, that makes you a racist.
Right.
Well, one of these things is not like the other. As I look at this panel, but you have to realize that, yes, the involvement of violence in black folks comes from that long history that the president was talking about, that we have to remember that we learned from some of the best. They had some white boys came over here that did the first beheadings in Point Coupee, Louisiana, where I'm from. Slave insurrection, that was the way you dealt with it. Tuskegee syphilis incident. We're going to see how black men die if they have syphilis, but we pretend we treat them with penicillin, and we're just going to watch the pathology of how they die. Now, that wasn't back 200 years ago. That was 1930 to 1974. We're talking about giving these wonderful blankets to Native Americans infected with smallpox as they walked on that trail of tears just to see how they die and to eliminate their population so we can take all of that land. So the violence that is in America has come from a very learned position that was brought here by some Caucasian folks. All right? So now, when it comes to the NFL, you have black men who have taken advantage of this opportunity to go there. So for every 1, 2, or 3 that may have been in the news because of violence, there are another 2,000 that deport themselves as gentlemen, as husbands, as fathers, and as great professionals. So we must remember them also. Okay. So, but you know, but yes, people are responding to that. They see that image of that black man. You know, one of the MacArthur Foundation fellows that just won is a psychologist, Jennifer Eberhardt from Stanford, who deals with racial messaging and inequalities that people is either learned or subconscious, that when you see me in a certain situation, you think violence. If they see you in a certain situation, people don't see violence. So the image of the black man being violent has been perpetuated for a long time.